I'm going to show you the easiest way to learn photography. Okay, a lot of this other stuff that people teach is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I think they do that on purpose so that you don't learn anything. And anyway, so here it is. Okay, um, you have three settings you gotta learn. Okay, learn them like your life depends on it. And here it is: the aperture. Then you have your shutter speed, and then you have your ISO. Okay, now the aperture does two things. When you drop the f-stop to the lowest number, it does two things. It brightens up the picture with a lot of light, okay? And at the same time you do this, it also creates the most blur, all right? So it does two things at once. Not one thing, it does two. That's the problem that people don't get. When you drop your f-stop from f4 down to f2 and below, that's when you get the most light in the picture. But if you do this with the f-stop, you also create the most blur, the background, okay? That's how you get the background blur in the professional shots, all right? But because a lot of people do this outside, you have a lot of light outside, and that's why a lot of people have a difficult time, because they try to create this effect and it already has a lot of light outside. You don't want to do that unless you know your stuff, okay? So anyway, that's the problem. So remember, once again, from f4 down to f1.4, you're going to create the most blur in the picture. The lower you drop, the more blur, okay? Like the background right here. Now, the other side of the coin, the higher you go on the f-stop, the darker the picture gets. So if you go outside, you want to kill the sun, the light of the sun, you're gonna have to drop the, increase, I should say, the f-stop, okay, to neutralize the picture. But the background clears up too. It does two things this way too, okay. Now one, two. So the f-stop, the higher you go, it does two things. It clears the picture and it makes it dark. And then when you drop the f-stop, it does two things. This is the most important thing that people don't get. It doesn't do one thing, it does two things at once. So that's why it's difficult. But you got to know this, then you'll be okay. So when you drop from 4 f4, drop down to f1 or whatever, the blurrier it gets, the lower you get. And it becomes brighter, two things, brighter and blurrier at the same time. You cannot avoid it. That's the problem. That's what people don't get. Now, let's work with the shutter speed. It does two things too. Not one, two. The shutter speed. The higher you drop, the higher you go, the clearer the picture and the darker the picture. All right? Two things. And the slower you go, the brighter it gets and the blurrier it gets also, you see. So if you want to create blur, obviously there's different types of blur. This is blur as a whole. Over here, the blur over here is the perimeter outside. Anyway, just so you know. So the faster you go, the darker the picture, because it cuts the light. This faster you shut the shutter, the less light enters. That's why it keeps the pictures dark. All right. So two things last time. The shutter increases, it gets darker, and also gets clearer. The slower you get, especially beyond 60, below 60, Anything below 60, you should be using a tripod, because motion and slow speed do not work together. It causes blur because it's too slow below 60. And that's another reason people get blurry pictures. You get blurry pictures because you drop the speed too low. You cannot handhold anything below 60. It's very difficult. And now we go to the ISO. The lower you get on the ISO, there's two things. You get the highest quality ISO 100. Some have ISO 50. So the lower you get on the ISO, let's say it's sunny day outside, you want to use ISO 100 or 200. Okay, that's about 50, whatever. From 200 down, especially 100 is the best. I mean, 50 really is, but anyway, standard is 100. So two things happen. ISO 100, you get the highest quality, and you get the darkest setting. All right, that sensitivity to the sensor, the light that comes in. So if you want the picture to get brighter, then you raise up the ISO. But if you raise up the ISO, there's a consequence, two consequences, okay, to that. It has lower quality and the picture gets grainier. So again, it's not just one thing, it's two, all right? So you keep that in mind, and I'll show you now what I mean by that. Right here I have an apple. Right here I have the ISO. As you can see, where are you? Oh, right here, okay. Right here, as you can see, I'm going to put the ISO, let's say right here, 100. Okay, the ISO 100. Okay, so if I look at the monitor now, I'm going to raise up the ISO, and it gets brighter. See? Let me raise it over here. It gets brighter as the ISO has increased. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, there we go. So, let me do this. Let me get this one. Let me work on this guy, sorry. Let me focus. Anyway, it's ISO. Let me put this on auto. Focus. Okay. And then, okay. So, right there. So I'm going to raise up the ISO. As you can see. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. Not the ISO. Here we go. I raise up the ISO, and it gets brighter. See? And it gets grainier. See? This is the ISO. ISO 12,000. So again, ISO, there's two things. It gets brighter and grainier the higher you go. And the lower you go, it gets darker, like for outside, let's say. And then it becomes more clearer, crispier. All right. Now I'm going to play with the shutter speed. Shutter speed right now is at 60. You do not want to go below 60 without a tripod. Okay, you're just going to ruin your picture that way if there's a lot of movement. Okay, now. So now the shutter speed is at 60. The faster you go, I'm going to go faster, it gets darker. See? Right now it's at 3200, 4000. Okay? And the shutter speed, the slower you go, it gets brighter. Okay? And it gets blurry again. And now let's do the aperture. The aperture is at 1.8 right now. Hang on, 1.8. That's the brightest, the most blur. Oh, hang on, what happened here? Hang on. Okay. Okay, so that's the aperture is at 1.8. Let me get this again. So that's the brightest. I'm gonna make it darker. 2, 3, 4.0, 6.3, 13. See how it's getting darker? 2020, and 22. Okay. So because I have the ISO high, isn't that in that kind of? I'm sure. I'm gonna drop the ISO. Hang on. ISO 100. There you go. Let me do it again. The shutter speed. Hang on. I'm gonna drop the f-stop. I'm gonna drop the f-stop. It should be getting brighter. F-stop. Here we go. So the f-stop right now is dark. There we go. Alright, so the shutter speed, I raise up the shutter speed, and it gets darker. The faster you go, the shutter speed, the darker it gets, the crispier it gets. And the lower the shutter speed, more light comes in, as you can see. More light comes in on the shutter speed, the lower you go. Alright, now it's in the ISO. I want to get it brighter. I'm going to raise the ISO. It's going to get grainier and brighter. Okay. Okay. Grainier and brighter, ISO goes up. That's what happens. Just two things. Now I'm going to lower down the ISO. There you go. And I'm going to, now the f-stop is at 2.8. So I'm going to raise it up. I mean, no, actually, let me raise up the ISO. I'll raise up the ISO to get some light in. It gets grainier, right? Now I'm going to do the f-stop. F-stop right now is at 1.8. Very bright and grainy. Blurry in the back. See how blurry the background is? 1.8. That's what it happens. It gets brighter and blurry. The background. Now I'm going to raise up the f-stop. F-stop, I raise it. Watch the background. Look at the background. The background gets clearer, but it also the whole picture gets darker. See? So you want to do this outside, not inside. See? Okay? It gets darker. You do this outside. Anyway, there you have it. Have a good one, guys. Please like and subscribe. Thanks. Have a good day.